First of all, when you write a picture book, from the text, it's very important to understand the motivation behind the text, the setting, the story as it unfolds. What you do not want is to write detailed illustration notes in a picture book, because the illustrator is going to bring their creativity into the process. It's almost 50-50. You write the story that the editor, the art designer, and the illustrator can imagine in their minds, and then they can create something that brings their life experience, their art, their skill set, all of that into that story. Then the second part of the answer, which is, do I work with illustrators closely? No. Most publishing houses prefer the author to talk with the editor, and the editor briefs the art director or the designer with the motivations of the book, with what we're trying to get out of the book, what the author intended to do, along with their ideas of how they're going to present it artistically. So that discussion happens in house, and then they will go find an illustrator, and that could be a process of already knowing which illustrator to pick, or it could be a process of whittling down illustrators based on availability, the match to that project, the skill set, various options. Once an illustrator has been chosen, and hopefully by consulting with the author, or at least letting the author know that this is the illustrator they have picked, often the art director or the designer is the person talking to the illustrator. So if there are things that go back and forth, it's normally from the illustrator to the designer, designer to editor, editor to author. Now, sometimes this can be different. There are always exceptions. If you are either friends with an illustrator and they kind of don't mind you talking to each other, or they put you together for a particular purpose, it's very rare that you get to tell the illustrator anything about the project unless they're inviting you to do so. I often provide things like Pinterest boards and reference images, because many of my books are culturally Indian, and if the illustrator is not from that background, it's very helpful for them to have reference images. Of course, they will do their own research, and you would expect them to, but it's also good to go, this is what I planned in my head, or this is the actual authentic representation of what it would look like. But it's quite helpful for both the editor, the designer, and the illustrator to have that as a reference. So that's how normally a picture book author works with an illustrator.